What's up, guys? So in this video, we're going to be talking about luxury travel versus affordable travel. And I'm going to be talking about pros and cons. I feel like I'm the perfect person to come in and talk about this topic. The reason is because I've done both, right? I've done the luxury travel, and I've also stayed in some questionable places that you wouldn't want to stay in if you're an American, right? So I've done both, and I want to get my 2 cents on it. Let's start off with luxury travel. Now, luxury travel is cool. I'm not going to lie, especially when you're going out the country. Number one, the cool thing about it is that you're going to be getting like Ritz-Carlton service without paying those Ritz-Carlton prices, right? So you're going to get all inclusive. You're going to get, it's going to be nice. You're going to be in a very luxury looking resort. You don't have to worry. You're there. You're stress free. All you have to worry about is vacationing, right? All right, like let's go to the pool. Let me drink my little margarita. Let me go over to the beach. Life is good. And this is all good, right? You got the servants over here. You got the waiters over there. The food. It's fun. It's fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like that's what I like. It's cool. But there's another problem with this. Is that when you travel out the country to these places, you start to notice that you're gonna be surrounded by the same type of people if you were in America, right? And I don't know about you guys, but for me, one of the main reasons why I want to travel is kind of to explore different cultures and to see what other people think. Because if you're just surrounded by the same people, you kind of get hit by that group think. Because we all kind of have the same values. We all kind of have the same vision of the world. And like you're just talking to Americans. Or like another thing that I've noticed is that when you're at these 5-star or like 5-star all-inclusive spots, it's either Americans, it's either some people from the UK, or it's going to be some people from Canada, right? And it's like, same conversation. What do you guys think about that? To me, it's like, it's not what I came to do. And that's like probably like the biggest problem. But the biggest pro is the fact that you get to relax, you get to enjoy those nice prices, right? Like you're not going to be blowing arms and legs out there. Let me talk another thing about it. Like, one thing I've also noticed is like when I went over to Colombia, there's a spot called El Poblado, and that's like the rich area of Colombia. And what I've noticed is when I was walking around, first thing I've noticed is that when I'll be going to the restaurants, go to the bars, like I would hear people speaking English, and I'm like, man, am I not in Colombia? Am I not in a different country? And it's like, why is everyone around me speaking English? You go up to the waiter, you try to order something in Spanish, and they interrupt you in English, like, oh, like, no, I speak English. I'm like, well, I didn't come out here to speak English, right? Like one of the main reasons why I like to travel, especially to like Hispanic places, is because I want to practice my Spanish. So that's kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. And then when you look at the prices, you look like at a burger, you're like, you know what? Let me get this burger. This looks pretty good. And then you'll notice that the burger is like $15. You're like, damn, man, it's like the same as LA. I live in LA. And I'm like, whoa, like this burger costs the same as if I was in LA. That's not cool, right? And you kind of you feel like you're being took advantage of because you have to pay the American tax. But in exchange, what you get with that is that when you're walking around the city, you're not worried. You're not going to be thinking about, oh, who's going to be stealing money from me? Who's going to try to pickpocket me? You're not going to be thinking about that because you're in the nice areas, right? So you get to experience like let's say Colombia, you get to experience Colombia because you're in Colombia, right? But it still has that American feel that I'm not the biggest fan of. If I wanted that feel, I would just stay in America. If I wanted to talk to Americans, I'll be talking to Americans over here. I want to talk to Colombians. I want to talk to the locals. But now let's switch up the topic. Let's talk about affordable travel, right? And affordable travel is interesting as well. Very interesting. For example, like when I was in Colombia, I was staying in the rich area, but I do have family in Colombia, and they stay in not the rich area, right? And I wanted to go talk to my aunties, I wanted to go talk to my cousins, so I went over there, and I don't remember the exact location of where they stayed. I'll look it up. But the funny thing about it is that you start to notice, like the first thing that I've noticed is that when I go out in vacation, I like to dress nice, right? I wear the buttons, I wear the nice shoes, I put like my nice little watch on. And you'll start to notice that when you're walking around people, especially when you're not in the best locations, you're gonna stand out because you're like, one time I was wearing all white, and I was wearing all white with my watch, like I got a fresh haircut. Like I remember just thinking like, oh damn, like I look like I don't belong over here, I look like I'm American. And that isn't the best thing. It isn't the best thing that you want when you're in a foreign country, right? Because America is always associated with it's having a little bit more money than different countries, and so you might have a target on your back by walking around doing that. So that's not cool. And so when you start walking around like that, your head is on a swivel, right? You're looking around everywhere like, oh shoot, like now you see a dude staring at you kind of off, and you're like, all right, what's that guy looking at? You looking over there. You're like, okay, what's going on with those people? Now you're kind of like more conscious of what's your surroundings are, right? And that can be annoying as well, because now you have to like be looking around, making sure that nothing bad is going to happen to you. That's not fun either. But like what I've noticed is that I remember like when I went to El Poblado right there in Colombia, that rich area, I was paying $15 for a burger, like I mentioned. And then I went over to where my auntie lived. And I remember I was there with four people. And we all bought a meal. We all got sodas. We all got like drinks. Like we were ordering a lot of things. I specifically remember that it was cheaper for people than it was one person in El Poblado, right? And I remember I was like, damn, they're really hitting us with that American tax over there in that different side, right? Because over here, they don't even, like, it's super cheap. And like when I went to Colombia, like I said, I have cousins and they're all my age. And so the cool thing about that is they're going to take you to the local spots. So the first night when I stayed in Colombia, we went over to the bars that were close to our house, right? The rich area. But then the second night I went over to with my cousin, and she was like, yo, let me show you some local spots. And so she showed us the local spots. And the interesting about the interesting thing about like the local spots was the fact that like they are like, first it's like you're in the area, right? You're there now. Like you got the like if you wanted locals, like in Colombia, if you're a guy, right? If you wanted locals, you want the local things, they're there, right? And they like Colombia has that fame of them girls looking like spices, and it's like I'm not gonna sit here and disagree with that. It's kind of true. So you're like in the mix. And I remember buying like 2 bottles and buying a table. And I remember it was like cheap. It was like really cheap. I wish I had the receipts for it. I wish I could show you guys. I'm going to make sure that next time I travel, I'm going to keep all these receipts so I can keep you guys updated. But it was cheap. It was cheap. And you're going to get into some trouble, right? If you're going over to the locals. I went with my girlfriend. And like I got a little bit. This is a story that I might share a little bit more in detail later on. But got a little bit. Started drinking a little bit. There's a little Colombian chick, like it was on accident. I didn't mean to do it at all, but like came off disrespectful. Long story short, I didn't have a girlfriend by the end of the trip. Okay, but switch topics. Back to the original topic, which is luxury travel, which is affordable, right? They both have their pros and cons, right? So if you want to go over to a different country and you don't want to worry about anything, of course, get the all-inclusive, get the nice hotels, right? Like that's where you're gonna feel safe. But if you want a story, you want to have fun, you want to be out there, you want to be where the locals are at, then going affordable isn't too bad. But just remember that you're gonna have to have your eyes and ears open, right? Like you're gonna have to be looking around, and that might make it more uncomfortable for people, but it might make it a little bit more fun. So it really depends on what your vibe is, right? And that's gonna basically be it for this video, and that's gonna be my experience. Like, to top it off, which one would I choose? It really depends on which spot that I go to. I lean more over to affordable, and the reason I do that is because it's more fun, right? I like the stories, I like the adventure. I'm an adventure person. But if I'm going out with some people that I don't feel like I want to be responsible for, like I don't want to like let's say I bring someone with me, like I'm gonna go more luxury, and if they're more calm, we're staying with like luxury, like just staying with the all-inclusive and stuff like that. All right, guys, so that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, give a like and send me a comment what you guys think. Peace.